Alright, so it's time to talk about everyone's favorite character, Katakuri. Let's go over all of his attacks and see everything that this absolute monster, can do. Now, Katakuri has the mochi-mochi fruit, which allows him to convert any part of his body into mochi and control their shape and size. His fruit is awakened, which allows him to convert anything he touches in his surroundings, as well as anything he wants to, into mochi as well. His bounty is 1,057,000,000 berries, which is probably an underestimate, honestly. His level of Haki is extremely high, and he specializes in observation Haki. This man is absolutely insane. He's trained his observation Haki enough to be able to see a little bit into the future. Now let's just get right into it. So the first move is Jelly Bean. So Katakuri possesses such great physical strength that allows him to flick jelly beans that mimic bullets. He used this against Jigra, an Orcan trader who wanted to assassinate Big Mom for killing his father and gifting him with his head. Now how many finger muscles do you have to have so you can do that? This man is absolutely crazy. Now the next move is what I call mochi-mochi no Gatling, and this was Katakuri's way of mimicking Luffy's Gomu Gomu no Gatling in order to show him that he's stronger with his own move. Now this is followed by what I call the Mochi Gun, which was Katakuri's way of mimicking Luffy's Gomu Gomu no Elephant Gun. Well, Katakuri's was actually bigger than Luffy's, and because of the Haki, his attack was actually stronger, so again, this was to show Luffy who was boss. Now both of these attacks were created on the spot by Katakuri, and were more powerful than Luffy's because they were more efficient and coded in stronger Haki. So Katakuri is a fighter that thinks of the most efficient and powerful way to create abilities. Just keep this in mind as we move forward, since it is reflected in some of his other attacks. Now the next attack is called Willow Mochi, or Yanagi Mochi. So Katakuri sprouts multiple mochi segments that mimic his legs and stomps on his opponents. The stomping action is like the shape of a willow tree, hence the name Willow or Yanagi, and Katakuri uses this attack twice against Luffy. The next attack is one of my favorite moves. It's called Mochi Thrust, or Mochi Suki. So Katakuri morphs his arm into mochi and spins it so that it creates a strong gyration on his trident called Mole, or Mogura, which he holds in his hand. This makes for a powerful attack when he thrusts it. The first time Luffy escapes it, and it was strong enough to destroy the building behind him. The second time, the attack pierced a freaking hole in Luffy in his abdomen. This happened as Luffy slipped from Flampei's silent needle attack and lost his concentration in the fight. Now Mochisuki directly means pounding steamed rice with a mallet, and so it's a fitting name for his attack. So this next attack is called Mochi Hadan, which is directly translated as Mochi Blade Bullet. Katakuri hardens his fingertip and propels it forward after detaching it as Mochi, and this attack produces a similar result as his Jelly Bean attack, but is probably stronger considering his finger is coated with his extremely high level of armament, Haki. Now Katakuri's Devil Fruit is awakened, which gives him a larger arsenal of abilities to work with. One of these abilities is called Flowing Mochi, or Nagare Mochi, and this attack allows Katakuri to convert anything he touches into mochi. He converts the ground into mochi and traps Luffy by immersing his feet in sticky mochi in one of the uses of this attack. Luffy then cannot escape Katakuri's other attacks. Now moving on, these next two similar attacks is also possible from Katakuri's awakening. The first one is called Mirror Mochi, or Kagami Mochi, and in this attack, Katakuri converts the walls and ceilings into mochi and buries his opponents with them. This is an incredibly suffocating attack. The next attack, which is kind of based off of Mirror Mochi, is called the Raindrop Mochi, and this attack converts the mochi into the shape of raindrops and drops it with great speed in front of an enemy, much like a rainfall. Now Katakuri's next arsenal of attacks are more aggressive and pack more of a direct punch. They are all based off of his technique called Musou Donuts, which literally means peerless donuts or unrivaled donuts, which I mean is pretty accurate. His donuts are OP as hell. With this, Katakuri takes mochi and shapes them into donuts. Now this is not an attack by itself, but forms the basis for some of Katakuri's other attacks, like Kaku Mochi. Now Kaku Mochi literally means square mochi. This technique is when Katakuri compresses his fists into square-like mochi, which is a more hardened form, and he coats it with Musou Haki so they're even harder. This ability makes his fists super hard and is an efficient combination between his Devil Fruit and Haki. Now for a fun fact, this technique is based off of the food Kaku Mochi, which is a pre-packaged, rectangular-shaped hard mochi that many Japanese people eat. Next is Chikara Mochi, or Power Mochi. This is a technique whereby Katakuri creates giant arms coated with a high level of armament Haki from his Musou donuts and delivers a really strong punch. He uses multiple times to beat Luffy into submission. Now a similar attack is called Mochi Anemone. Katakuri uses this technique and in doing so summons multiple Musou donuts on his opponent with giant Musou Shoku enhanced arms, and this absolutely hammers his opponents. Now this is also basically a barrage of power mochi. Now perhaps one of Katakuri's coolest moves, this is called Burning Mochi, or other translations are Yaki Mochi or Grilled Mochi, which is the direct translation of Yaki Mochi. Now in this technique, Katakuri turns his arm into mochi, coats his fist in square-like hardened armament Haki, and then propels his fist by detaching it from his arm through a strong acceleration towards the enemy. Now next we have what is called buzz cut mochi, or zangiri mochi. In some translations it's also called sliced mochi. Now this was one of Katakuri's strongest attacks. He used it to almost finish Luffy off in a snake man form. Now in this attack, Katakuri expands one arm into a spike-shaped mochi. It looks kind of like a club, hardens it with armament haki, and then throws down an enemy with it, after attaching the mochi to the enemy. And it's very much like a club with spikes that you can kind of like hit an opponent with. The next attack we have is called Curry Mochi. The direct translation is chestnut mochi. And so Katakuri shapes a large muso donut using mochi and morphs the surface into spikes. He hardens the spikes with his armament haki and then propels the spikes towards his enemy. This was used against Luffy, but fortunately Luffy saw this attack through a glimpse of the future that he just learned throughout his battle, and he dodged it, which also earned Katakuri's respect. Now, the last technique that Katakuri have is what I call mochi amplification. Now, this is a name I thought of to describe Katakuri's general creative ability to empower his mochi-based attacks. For instance, he used mochi to add more acceleration to one of his enlarged kicks against Luffy's elephant gun. Another instance is when he morphed his mochi into additional muscles on his shoulder, which empowered one of his buzz-cut mochi attacks on Luffy in his Gear 4 Snake Man form. Those are all of Katakuri's attacks. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Much love, subscribe to the channel, y'all. I'll see you in the next vid. Peace.